Number 15. Stalkers. Welcome to the inner workings of a broken down mental hospital, recorded live to Facebook by Hammy TV. This creepy video takes you on a tour through the extreme ward of Medfield State Hospital, developed over the turn of the 20th century. The 58-building complex held a max of 2,200 patients and was a filming location for such films as Shutter Island and The Box. According to Wikipedia, trespassing between dark and sunrise is strictly forbidden, so these boys aren't exactly following the law. One especially creepy fact about this asylum is that it has 841 grave sites, all of which are numbered instead of named. In fact, Boy Scouts in the area made it their Eagle Scout service project to find the correct names of all buried and their dates of passings. If that wasn't creepy enough, watch what happens during this tour of evil. The crew is heading to the 3rd floor, where there were allegedly a few passings. As they're trying to decide how to get up the very broken stairs, the camera pans the upper floor. Keep your eye on the hallway. A shadow person very clearly crosses the threshold, a shadow that apparently the crew didn't see in reality, as they have no reaction to it whatsoever. I'm sure when they watched this video in playback, they did. I'm not sure if anyone noticed until it was pointed out in the Facebook comments, but now that it's been spotted, I think this paranormal sighting is terrifying. Number 14. Haunted Attic. Do you hear noises from the attic where no one lives? There are only a few explanations. Animal, squatter, or ghost? Which one explains what happens next? Published to YouTube in October of 2015 by Chris Court, the uploader writes, I kept hearing strange sounds coming from the attic of the old apartment building I am currently at in Italy, and decided to set up a camera. What I saw when I went to grab the camera a few hours later was shocking. The place is still and silent at first, but then a chair in the back of the room moves all on its own. A couple seconds later, it moves again. The ghost then decides to play around with the old school rocking horse. At first, it simply rocks back and forth, but before long, it quite clearly moves from side to side, even sliding across the floor a little. It almost appears animated. Is there a child ghost playing around in the attic? If so, I wouldn't recommend joining in on the fun. Number 13. Cursed Tunnel.
I like screaming or something in this tunnel. I'm gonna go check it out.
You may think you're ready for this list, but some scary videos you're just not meant to see. The boy in this video says he hears something in this tunnel that sounds to him like a scream, so he decides to go investigate. But no, the boy enters the darkness with nothing but a void at the end of it. For a while, all you hear is his own footsteps. Then you hear this. Sounds like Alien vs. Predator up in here. The kid stops for a moment, and in that quiet, a couple footsteps splash through the water. He then says hello to the creature he cannot see, before heading forward again, but he doesn't get very far. The rattling sound echoes throughout the tunnel before the thing starts to screech in a way that makes your insides tremble. As he runs, the creature quiets for a time but lets out a final terrifying screech as the boy exits the tunnel, likely wondering what in the world he almost happened upon. Is this for real? If so, what lies in the depths of this underground? Dark Dominator thinks it's the rake, while the last one suggests it's a feral hog, but I've never heard a rattle like that from a hog before. Lesson learned: the next time you hear screaming in the darkness, it's best to run in the opposite direction. Number 12. Camouflaged. There's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. When you're face to face with a predator in the jungle at night, I first came across this video on the Spanish-speaking YouTube community, and it was published in February of 2020. This sinister video stands out in an ultra-scary list. The shot pulls into the darkness of some jungle leaves and foliage, where the viewer can somewhat make out a discernible shape. It appears like a wild cat hidden in the leaves, waiting to pounce. If you saw this crouching out of the corner of your eye as you took your everyday jungle route home at night, would you be afraid? You should be. Number 11. Nightmare Uber. What do you do when your Uber driver refuses to let you out? That's the nightmare scenario two Uber passengers were faced with when grabbing an Uber in Virginia. The pair captured this horrifying high-speed chase live. According to the passengers, another driver had drove into their Uber driver's car. When the Uber pulled to the side of the road to exchange info, the car didn't follow suit, instead fleeing the scene. The Uber driver then decides to chase the other driver while calling the police. During his hot pursuit, the driver hands the phone to one of his passengers, who tells the police what is happening. The pair wants to get out of the car, demanding that the driver stop and let them out. The driver refuses, saying he can't let the guy go. The passenger relays all this to the police, saying the driver won't slow and they're going to hit someone, to which they warn the man that he needs to stop. The driver does not heed the police's warnings, and in fact he continues chasing the suspect, despite the fact that the passengers notify him that they have the number of the suspect's license plate, so he can logically pursue him that way. 4.5 minutes of fear, and the driver finally pulls over, allowing the couple to leave. They catapult out of the vehicle. That was the scariest moment of my life. It was a nightmare. One of the passengers is quoted as saying, "Thankfully, it went no further," and the driver was later charged with abduction. Talk about a bizarre ride. Number 10. Tag, you're it. A girl and the person filming were innocently playing around outside, but they were not alone. Published to YouTube in May of 2019, nightmares abound after watching this video, which is gaining attention in the Spanish-speaking YouTube community. The clip shows a girl playing with a ball outside a yellow fenced-in building. She runs up to the fence, behind which a pair of swings are wrapped together in knots. After a moment, the girl points at something or someone behind the camera person, who turns around to see what she's indicating. There is no one in the distance across the field, but there is someone right behind her. The ghoul of a girl appears semi-transparent as the camera shot falls. We can only imagine the camera person fled in fear from this thing she was not meant to see. Tag, you're it. Game over. Number 9. Poltergeist Possession. Published to YouTube by Proving Demons in May of 2020. You might want to call your local exorcist after watching this video. The uploader explains that the house they entered is known to have been the site of an exorcism, and they were exploring it to capture paranormal activity. He writes, while experiencing heavy poltergeist activity, I could feel the demon inside trying to possess me as it did the previous owner, who is now insane in a mental institution. From that point, our ghost hunt took a turn for the worst. Let's take that turn with them. After hiking up to the abandoned building and entering through a crawl hole, the crew finds the inside looks like a surreal art shed. Colorful paper lanterns hang, arrows are pointing every which way, all natural light in the place is framed by gothic windows. At first, the general aura of the place is curious rather than creepy. There are lots of scraps of paper posted to a board, a large map, a guitar hanging on one wall. As one YouTuber, Lavender Rainbow, points out, there's a pamphlet on the wall. Later in the clip at 16 minutes 29 seconds that reads, Bipolar Disorder Survival Guide. So maybe the person living here was trying to seek psychiatric help. You find yourself wishing you were there, so you might examine things up close and learn more. But then the crew hears a woman screaming. They head towards a back room, with one of the dudes mentioning that they hadn't even made sure they were alone in this building. In fact, the building looks very lived in, not abandoned. There's what looks like a bed in the next room with blankets on it, a full backpack beside it, clothes hanging. Are they alone? He continues into the next room, hearing others inside, but it turns out just to be his own crew. You can hear a lot of sounds and things moving, like there are animals on the roof. Next, the door closes behind him by itself. They use the EVP to see if anyone's there in the home with them. The quick reply is yes. They also hear the words demon, as well as a warning, get out now. The demon tells them they have no right to be there. Andrew says he's starting to feel affected and his hands are shaking. And moments later, something falls off the shelf. Even scarier are the Polaroids that they find of what appears to be an authentic exorcism or ritual of some sort. What do you think went on in this makeshift cathedral of a home? A possession? Would you feel comfortable in the demon's skin? Number 8. Ghost Girl. Sometimes that mysterious noise is your haunted ice maker. Other times, things are even more chilling than they seem. Posted to the Chills Narrator subreddit by Oranjavi, and originally posted to TikTok by Pershka. This one is sure icy. According to the TikToker, she was intending to capture a scary sound her ice machine kept making on camera, but instead she got a lot more than she bargained for. As she walks from the living room to the kitchen, for a split second while the lights are off, you see a little girl standing there in the darkness next to the ice machine. Watch carefully. It's just for the slightest of moments before the light flicks on and she disappears. The girl is pale and dressed in black with long black hair. She stands there motionless before vanishing into thin air with the light. Coupled with this is the eerie sound the ice machine truly was making. It sounds like the windy moans of a ghost. Tima2013 writes in the comments, I have that same ice machine. It does not make that sound. Yikes. Yikes is right. You never know who is waiting in the darkness for you. Number 7. Playing around. Imagine being the spirit of a child, still stuck in the world. Why are you there? What do you do in the interim? Clearly the answer is to play around with the living. Originally posted to TikTok by Dries Perry, a Redditor wonders what Reddit thinks of these TikToks. Let's take a look. In the first clip, Perry says he's convinced that this room in his home is haunted. After shutting the door so it doesn't scare his daughter, he speaks directly to the ghost, inviting him to reveal his presence in some way. At first, the ghost is hesitant, but soon after, a can on the table flips over onto its side. After returning to the room, he asks the spirit to move something else. A toy car begins to slowly roll across the same tabletop. Seems like someone is ready to play. Redditor Hollow Planet writes, this is exactly what the poltergeist I had was like. During round 2 of attempting to communicate with the spirit in the toy room, Perry decides to try and play too, since many of his commenters on TikTok were theorizing that it was a child ghost. After asking the child ghost to play, a ball is tossed his way from a nearby shelf. He shows the camera up close that there are no strings attached to the wiffle ball that rolls to stop at his feet. He asks the child ghost to knock 3 times if he's nice. After you hear 3 clear knocks, Perry says he's done.
Could you knock 3 times if you're a nice ghost? I don't know. Okay, guys. Yep, I'm done. I'm done.
Already? The kid just wants to toss a ball. Redditor ZRyan3564 writes that he's jealous the ghost is so vocal. It seems he or she wants you to accept it, so it's doing everything you ask. Ryan says, would you accept this playful ghost, or would you lock up this room and throw away the key? Number 6. Ghost storms out. When you're arguing whether a shirt is red or maroon, the ghosts in your presence will know they've had enough of you two. Published to YouTube in May of 2020. This is what happens when a ghost gets fed up with your bickering, throws up his hands, and storms out of the house he's haunting. The uploader explains that during their last visit to this place, they experienced the door slamming but didn't have a chance to record it, so this time they returned to capture it on film. This video is cut down to 3 minutes of the 50 that were recorded. The clip shows the boys arguing whether or not one of their shirts is red, before deciding to call it quits with the filming, since it had been nearly an hour. Just then, something clearly slams in the distance. The uploader says his friend thought it was the hinges of the door rather than a ghost, but decides that the video is proof it wasn't the hinges. He also claims that he and a friend saw a shadow person in this building as well. The uploader writes, "Something said that it could have been air in the last upload, but it wasn't sure. The thing, if it was air, it would have opened it. The air is coming from outside, so it would push out to open. Instead, what we caught was a ghost slamming the door the opposite direction of where the air was coming from, so the force of the door slamming was going against the air." This was filmed in Harlingen, Texas, and there wasn't much airflow in the place according to the uploader. The group was sweating from so much stale heat. Well, maybe the ghost was too. Number 5. Screams from the sky. There are mysterious happenings that can be explained, and others to which there is no answer. Guess which one this mystery is. Posted to the Chills Narrator subreddit by EBB Puzzleheaded and originally published to YouTube by Daniel Robb in May of 2020. These screams in the Texan night sky are sure to set your hair on end. In the clip, the uploader explains that there's a sound in the distance, screaming that seems to be coming from the sky, and you can regularly hear the eerie screech off and on for nearly 8 minutes. The uploader Daniel Robb says this happened between 8:30 and 9:30 p.m. and that it sounded like a banshee, followed by several voices whooping. He says the sound filled the entire night sky. Others in the comments agree that it's demonic or banshee-esque, citing the end of times. Redditor I Have No Purpose in Life notes that the screams occur alongside the lightning strikes and wonders if they might be interconnected. I guess we may never know the actual answer. Number 4. Back crawling. While this may be video editing, even so it's an image you won't be able to get out of your head. Posted to the Chills Narrator subreddit by Calligram. A young woman dressed in white with long black hair and shadowed eyes creeps backwards up the stairs. As she backs slowly away, her hair piles upwards onto the stair above. Obviously, this was shot forward and reversed backwards, but the effect produces the type of uncanny sensation that sends chills up your arms. Reddit agrees. Number 3. USS Hornet. Old ship vessels are often known for their ghostly secrets. After all, they've seen the greatest evils on Earth in the name of battle. Published to YouTube in February of 2013, the ghost activity aboard this Navy ship, the USS Hornet, originally aired on DE episode 32. The crew member can be heard explaining how to use the EVP. When in the background of his discussion with the newbie, you can hear a strange voice, one that sounds like a little girl.
Alright, if you'd like to speak to us. Alright, if you'd like to speak to us.
It's hard to tell what the girl is saying without the voice being isolated in the audio file, although YouTube commenters have their theories. YouTuber Madcaps and Nemos writes, "It sounds like she said, 'Can you tell me why they forgot me?' Others here, 'Do you think they know they got me?' Some simply hear, 'Play with me.' What do you hear?"
Alright, if you'd like to speak to us. Alright, if you'd like to speak to us.
Number 2. Filtering phantoms. This clip shows a normal psychedelic filter, the electric color surrounding the girl in frame. She then turns her camera to span the room. The filter follows for a moment before becoming absent from the shot as the room is empty. Or is it? The person detecting filter appears to detect someone in the chair sitting opposite. No one is there, and yet the silhouette of a human form starts to appear in the shot in shocking black and white. It seems to be seated in the chair. The girl turns the filter back to her face, and the shocking figure follows, blending into the psychedelic filter colors around her again. Redditor Hydrant Wrench 97 is both tentative in jumping to the paranormal and rightly creeped out. She writes, "Usually these Snapchat filter ghost clips are glitching and basically the camera falling for pareidolia, but this one is weird. Might just be the spookiest glitch ever, but it is very weird and would scare me if that was my living room. Maybe it sees something we don't." Number 1. Goldfield Hotel. Legend has it that the horrors that happen in this opulent gold-gilded hotel are beyond comprehension, proof that looks can be deceiving. Published to YouTube by Alice Hammer in September of 2015. This venture inside the once bustling Goldfield Hotel is a must-stop shop for ghost hunters. This clip is just one example of this. KTVN Channel 2 News leads a crew of 7 through the dark haunted hotel using flashlights and lanterns. They stopped on their journey throughout to use the EVP to try and communicate with the spirits there. According to the news crew, on the 4th floor after passing a stairwell, something came rushing at them. They also claimed to hear footsteps approaching.
We got movement.
But it was in the basement where the anger was felt. The newscast mentions an earlier crew experiencing a brick being thrown while there, so they asked the spirit to show them that they were real, and further asked if they had thrown the brick. The response? "Thank you, but we've done it." Also in the recording, a male voice says, "Didn't mean to hurt anybody." Somehow, I don't believe him. Thanks for checking out this video.